Despite the searing heat and defying a police ban, thousands of protesters marched to test the new national security law. The legislation was fast-tracked in record time in Beijing and enacted on July the 1st, the 23rd anniversary of Britain's handover to Chinese rule.
As sad as it makes me say so, it is, yes. China is Hong Kong, Hong Kong is China. As of today, 1st of July. It's a sad day, but it's what it is. But I'll still take to the streets, I'll still say what I think, because it's my right as a human being.
Protesters started marching, chanting Free Hong Kong, laying out their key demands, only to be met by a line of riot police. But this group of demonstrators say it's their duty to stand up to China.
The law enforcement in Hong Kong, what they always do is they'll allow you to protest and make the arrest later. So today I come out and chant out end one-party dictatorship, knowing full well that probably I'll get arrested or charged.
The scope of the national security law is far-reaching. Article 38 says it can essentially target anyone, anywhere. Extradition to China for trial and a maximum sentence of life in prison faces violators of the legislation. People were arrested during Wednesday's rally for breaking the new law. They were in possession of items calling for Hong Kong's independence from China. Police sealed off the area, fired the water cannon, tear gas and pepper balls to break up the crowd. Police say one officer was stabbed in the arm.
The strategy by police on Wednesday was to cordon off key areas where those protesters had gathered in Wan Chai, Times Square and Causeway Bay. While most protesters were able to disperse in the surrounding streets, but police were still able to make at least 300 arrests.
Earlier on Wednesday, the city's chief executive celebrated the handover anniversary and the swift introduction of the new security law. Carrie Lam was sidelined in the drafting of the script, but said it was necessary to restore order and rebuild Hong Kong's reputation as a leading international financial centre in Asia.
The enactment of the national law is regarded as the most significant development in the relationship between the central authorities and Hong Kong since its return to the motherland.
In Beijing, government leaders were doing their best to counter critics who say China's actions marked the end of Hong Kong's special autonomy. The government in Beijing says the mainland is responsible for the former British territory and they want to prevent it becoming a springboard for subversion against China. Sarah Clarke, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
Well, let's speak now to our White House correspondent Kimberly Halkett. Kimberly, what else did the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo have to say about all of this?
Yeah, well, he really is calling out the Chinese Communist Party and concerned that this is going to, in terms of Article 38, that broad sweeping national security law, that it's going to have an impact on Americans, but all residents of Hong Kong, that essentially, in his words, they will be subjected to the whims of the party elites, that the rule of law has been eviscerated. The big concern for the United States is how broadly defined this law can be, that Americans living in Hong Kong could potentially be caught up and even prosecuted, accused of doing just normal everyday business, even with friends and family back in the United States. And so that's why the United States and the Secretary of State announcing that the United States is issuing a business advisory. And what this means is essentially it is discouraging American companies and companies around the world essentially from doing business, particularly with companies in China that may have ties to forced labor or violate human rights, that they will be discouraged from doing business. This is going out to a number of American agencies, this business advisory. And the United States also saying that they plan on more in terms of countermeasures being done.
And Kimberly, all of this, of course, adds to an already deteriorating relationship between the two.
Absolutely. It's been going on for months and even years, but just this week we should point out that the United States once again flagged its grave concern to the treatment of Chinese Muslim Uyghur women, the fact that it has been revealed there have been forced sterilizations that have been taking place, calling on the United Nations to sort of call out these human rights abuses. And we should also point out that it was just last week or so that the United States imposed visa restrictions on Chinese Chinese Communist Party officials because of the concern for the undermine of Hong Kong's autonomy. So this is a series of escalations that they say has to do with the concerns about the rule of law in Hong Kong. But we should also point out this is an administration looking for someone to blame for the decimated U.S. economy as a result of COVID-19 and how hard it has hit Americans, particularly in an election year when Donald Trump is running for re-election and had hoped to win another term based on a strong U.S. economy that now no longer exists.
Thank you for that, Kimberly Halkett there, our White House correspondent.